Well, I'm about 3 minutes in and I'm already being told to end this show, so I'm not sure exactly what's going on. Now, the reason I came on is because, well, I wanted to. I pay for this account. So I figured, why not, you know? But the reason I came on right now, and of course I know that Debbie Daly's doing a show and that nobody's going to show up. I don't care. This is going to be on repeat, so I really don't care. I don't care if anybody shows up here. I know how the game works. Everybody goes to Debbie's show. That's fine. I could have recorded this offline if I thought there would be feelings hurt. No big deal. But I had something to say, so I figured I'd come on. So anyway, here's all you need to know. And the reason I'm coming with this right now is because basically I think there's been some stuff said and some things spread that are not true. So I decided to come on the air and talk about it. Joe Seeker has been making some pretty just obnoxious claims lately. And I just want to set the record straight. And one thing you'll notice is that anyone you talk to, anyone you know, anyone who's in the know from Spreaker is going to they're going to validate my story. Pure and simple, period. Unless you talk to Joe. And then Joe will do what Joe does. And that, as you've seen, is try and destroy people and make them out to be all sorts of things. So all right, you guys want to know who Rick is? You guys want to know who Rick is? Those of you who are not familiar with Rick, Rick is a guy who's been on this platform for quite some time. He's been on this platform for probably about 7 years, and he hosted a show called Weekend Edition. And with that show, it was kind of a shock show. Said a lot of things, did a lot of things that were shocking and whatnot. Had a crazy chat room, crazy good times, and he was one of the best at it. You know, he was just brutal on some of his trolls and some of the shit. You know, he was crazy. So Rick decides, well, okay, let me take you back a little bit. Rick and I had been, off and on, friends, enemies, frenemies, whatever you call it. We had been just kind of, just existing here, and we talk about each other sometimes. And so that's where this whole thing begins. I was kind of thought of as a lightweight and a weakling to this dude, just like a lot of people, but, what can I do, right? I can't do anything to change people's minds. I'm not that kind of a guy. And I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. If you got your mind set in stone as to what I am, that's fine. I just want to set the record straight. So, Rick is a guy who put on these shows for attention and drama and whatnot. He will admit that, by the way, that there was this rush of when he would go on and get a chat room going and stirring the pot. He loved it, just like a lot of us love it. We love getting a good chat room going, stirring the pot, and making sure that people are entertained and happy, or at least entertained. I mean, I remember my first time getting a chat room that was so nuts that it broke my fucking internet connection. It was weird. It was because I was talking to Debbie Daly on that show, and this is back when everybody hated Debbie. Everybody was just insane about this lady. And a bunch of people came in to the chat room and just blew it up. They just went crazy. So, anyway. So let's see. Looks like I'm getting a call. I'm going to have to ignore that because I have a set thing in mind, and I can't be pretty much distracted. I'm ADD enough already, so I'm going to have to decline that call, probably to my disadvantage. But so Rick was a guy who was doing these slam shows or whatnot. And a few years back, I was kind of having an identity crisis. And I was basically, I started out my show. I got really, really happy with how things were going because I was just going on air and just talking mad shit about everybody. And I thought that was the way to get over. And of course, it was the way to get over. And then I ran across the wrong guys. They doxed me. I had never seen anything like that before. I got scared, turned tail, and fled. And then after that, well, my mind was kind of fucked, you know? I was like, what am I going to do? What's going to happen? Why am I even here? You know, but I liked it. I liked the way things went on Spreaker. So I came back, but I thought if I came back as someone different, maybe that would be the way to do it. So I switched my character and I made a character named Wayne Wild. Made a character by the name of Wayne Wild. And I thought that was pretty cool. You know, it was kind of an alter ego. It was a nom de plume, as it were. It was a pen name, and it was something that I could work with that wasn't my name, Alan Wayne, which I, at that time, was like, shit, this name has been torn up and stepped on. And yeah, everybody's laughing at that name. So maybe if I make up another name, it'll work out, right? It didn't work out. And I'll tell you how it didn't work out. So I try to go onto these chats, right? And I go into these chats to try and promote my new character, Wayne Wild. And I'm talking to people, and I run into these two people named Rebecca and Leanne in this one chat. And, I'm just chatting them up, talking away, and maybe being a little flirty because it's in character. I'm not too concerned about this isn't me. This is someone else. So I was being very friendly with these two people, and I thought they were being friendly with me too, until somewhere in the conversation it changed. Now, this was on a show called Music Road Radio, which was basically the precursor to the Black Sheep Network, which is on iHeartRadio, pretty big deal nowadays, where Rick started to do a lot of his independent music type of deal, started at the Black Sheep Network. Rick and Leanne were getting very friendly. They were talking a lot. They were just friendly as could be, as far as I know. And, Leanne liked Rick's style. She liked how he was. She liked what he brought to the table. And Rick was just going along with it, and he enjoyed it. So Rick, I got to put this away. There are people trying to contact me right now, and I gotta stay focused. I gotta stay focused on this because this is going little ways back in the memory banks. A lot has happened since then, but I just want to set the record straight. So Rick is doing his show. Leanne and this girl, Rebecca, they're in it. They love it. They just love Rick. They love the way he does what he does. He has a way with women. He really does. Women like him a lot. And that's cool, Can't hate on that. Some guys got the touch. Rick's got the touch with a lot of these women here. So he has a really hopping chat room that night. So I decide to, check that out. And, actually, no, it was on Music Road. I went to two shows. I saw Rebecca and Leanne in Music Road Radio, and then I saw them in Rick's Show Weekend Edition. So somebody can't go, aha, you stepped over yourself, you stammered, blah, 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 blah. I'm doing this by memory. It's not like I have notes in front of me. So I go in to Rick's chat. I even call Rick and say, yeah, I'll be back, pretty soon. I just don't know what I'm going to do. I'm thinking of doing a character by the name of Wayne Wild, and that's where this all began. This whole thing that Joe's talking about with dick pictures and creeping and everything else, that's where this all began. Because while I was listening to this show, this Leanne girl was saying that I was somebody I wasn't, that I wasn't Wayne Wild, that I wasn't even Alan Wayne. Alan Wayne was somewhere else. Alan Wayne had nothing to do with anything that was going on. It was Wayne Wild and somebody that she thought Wayne Wild was, which was a guy who was stalking her. Now, Leanne has these, I don't know if they're delusions, but she has these ideas that there are men stalking her all over the place, that there are men all over the country just, salivating at the thought of Leanne. There might be. I don't know. But she has that thought, and one of these guys apparently got too close, and I think he was a member of Music Road Radio, which caused Music Road Radio to leave Spreaker because she had accused him of stalking. So anyway, so she said, I think you're this guy. And I said, I'm not this guy. I think you're this guy. I'm not this guy. We had this conversation going back and forth. Her and this girl who she called her sister, Rebecca, were kind of like double teaming on me on Messenger. And I'm thinking, my God, what... that this just turned really weird all of a sudden. So I took a step back from the Wayne Wild. I took a step back from everything. I said, do you want to see a picture of me? And to prove that I am not this guy. And by the way, she claimed to be a bounty hunter, which was kind of one of those things. I mean, like, I guess I came into Spreaker completely naive. I was like, oh my God, she's a bounty hunter. Oh, what is she going to do? You know, I had nothing to worry about, but at the time it was like daunting. I'll admit it. It was kind of crazy because I haven't had to deal with anything as twisted as this venue can be sometimes. So I had a little bit of adjusting to do. And I got myself into a lot of trouble. I really did. My mouth got me into a lot of trouble. And I was basically jumping into ponds without knowing whether there was water in them or not. So I go and I take a picture of myself, and it was a picture of my face, and I disregarded the lighting. I disregarded everything else. It was a really piss poor picture of my face. Now, keep in mind, that is where this starts. The picture is of my face, or was of my face. My face. Yeah, the lighting was bad, but it was my face. Okay? Just to prove that it wasn't me she was thinking about. Now, in hindsight, that was really dumb. I didn't have to do that. I could have just said, you know what, forget it. Just clicked off the conversation. Maybe there was a part of me that wanted to indulge in this drama. I don't know. I was pretty fucked up at that point. A lot of shit going on in real life at that point. A lot of shit I don't talk about on here because, pure and simple, it doesn't matter anymore. But at the time, yeah, it was a rough time. Keep in mind, a lot of stuff happening in real life, and I have this stuff going on Spreaker where I'm like, this is weird. Like, you know how people would dox people, they would get their personal information put up on face or paste bin or whatever, and they would just like, they do all this kind of thing. And it was so foreign to me. I was like, what is all of this? This is really, really foreign to me. I don't know how in the hell this happens, but it basically is commonplace. I came to accept that. And I hopefully learned a little bit about how to navigate it and what's safe and what's not. So to continue, and I hope you're not bored yet because it gets really good right now. It gets really super good. Not for me, but story-wise, it's a pretty good story. So I send that picture off to her of my face. I have to keep reiterating, it was taken in my backyard about 20 feet away from where I am right now, where the lighting is poor. I think it was basically moonlight that night. So I take that picture and I send it. And that was a big mistake because I came to find out the next day that this Leanne lady had told Rick. Now, keep in mind, I told Rick that I was going to be working on a character by the name of Wayne Wild. I told him that. And Leanne said to him, this guy, Wayne Wild, just sent me a pic of his penis. Just sent me a dick pic. And Rick, of course, he had just gotten to know this girl. He was looking to start something with her, not romantic or anything, but a relationship in radio to try and start this whole Black Sheep network, profiling indie country artists, having shows around them. It became really successful. It blew up like out of nowhere. And you know, honestly, I was kind of jealous of the success because I was like, man, I do stuff with indie artists and I can't do anything like this. I can't get this kind of commotion going. This is great for him and this is great for her and great for them. And This is amazing. And I kept trying to wrap my mind around what is it exactly that they do that gets people in? What is it that they're doing? I tried to learn from what they were doing to do something of mine. But I kind of soured on them because I come to find out the very next weekend, Rick does a show and starts talking about me sending dick pics to Leanne Thomas, which didn't happen because that Saturday night, that fateful Saturday night, in my backyard, I took a picture of my face to prove that I wasn't this guy who was stalking her, or supposedly stalking her, for Music Road Radio. So I went to... I basically handled the whole situation very idiotically. Very idiotically. And there was tons of fallout over it. In fact, I saw the picture that was circulating, the picture that Leanne apparently sent to Rick, that was sent all over the place. And if you know me, I'm a fairly average height, Caucasian male. And the picture was a picture of a penis that was certainly not a Caucasian. And the hand that was holding it was certainly not Caucasian. So there was no way it could be me. And besides, I don't have pictures of my dick. I don't do that. I don't take pictures of myself like that. Because why bother? I mean, it doesn't even cross my mind to do something like that. I mean, let's just take the whole adultery angle out of it. Let's just say I was a single dude. I don't see any interest in it, really. I mean, I can understand where people would get off on it, just like guys would get off on pictures of girls naked or whatever, but I just don't, no, it's just not something I do, not something I do. And these days on the internet, you cannot be too careful because anything you put out there can be tied back to you, can be just put to you and tied to you and pinned to you, and you have to wear it on your back for the rest of your life. So it wouldn't be a smart thing for me to do that. Hell, it wasn't a smart thing for me to send my facial picture to this girl who I barely even knew. But that's how it happened. And so this is where Joe gets the whole I stood up for you. There were two people who basically called Leanne out and said, he didn't do that. You're trying to railroad his ass. And that was Debbie Daly and Joe Seeker. I will fully admit that. And there were friends of mine like Barco and Apocalypse and Stabby who were like, well, I don't want to believe it, but they have a dick pic. And there was Guy Shea who basically said, you're an asshole, but that's who Guy is. Guy's an inflammatory human being, and sometimes he goes off the rails. He still likes the Black Sheep Network, still shares their shows. But we're mended, we're cool. We did a show together last week. So, okay. So I'm going through this and I'm like, fuck, I'm not going to be able to get out of this. And the reason being is because the tide of public opinion is that I am a creep who sends dick pics. And I know a little bit about mob mentality. I know how people work. And I thought about it and I was like, well, I could say I didn't do it until I'm blue in the face, which I did. I called up numerous shows, News Guy show, Rick's show, got scorched on Rick's show, called up News Guy. I could tell he wasn't believing me. Called a couple other shows, Debbie's show, I think. And yeah, basically nobody but Debbie and Joe stuck up for me. Now, here's the difference between Debbie and Joe. Debbie, she will mention it every now and then if it comes up. But Joe likes to lord that over me as though it was some kind of miraculous act, as though he had just cured leprosy. So you showed the milk of human kindness to somebody. So you gave somebody the benefit of the doubt. What do you want? You want like a brownie? What do you want, dude? You want a cookie, a pat on the head, an attaboy, a good job? What do you want? You defended somebody. Good for you. And he's held that over my head for 3 years. But here's the thing about people like Joe Seeker. Debbie Daly doesn't ask for anything from me. At all. She doesn't ask for anything. She doesn't want for anything. She doesn't ask for anything. And there was nothing I could give her that she doesn't already have anyways. I don't have listeners. I don't have a very big fan base. I don't have publicity. I'm trying to build it up, but I don't have it right now. So what can I give her? I can't give her anything. Joe, on the other hand, he just seems to want to lord it over you because he wants to get whatever he can out of you, whatever satisfaction, whether it be, I don't know, an attaboy, a good job, an I admit it, or you're right, Joe. He was really about that. You're right, Joe. Oh, you're so right. You're so righteous. He just wants people to think he's righteous, you know. And fact of the matter is that when somebody does that, that just proves how unrighteous they really are, if you think about it. If somebody brags about their deeds, they're just trying to get something out of you. They're just trying to get something out of it. That's all they're trying to do. So Joe also likes to mention that Rick was trying to ruin my marriage. Now, I did play that up a little bit because in defense, I wanted to basically say, oh my God, this ruined my marriage. I even did a show where I played it off like I'd been left, and some people believed it, but by that time my reputation was in the gutter, so nobody really believed a word I said. It could have been true, and nobody believed it. Basically, everybody that I had associated with on Spreaker wanted me to go away. And I get it. I quit that first time. I mean, I made all the bitch moves, made all the rookie mistakes, did all the wrong things when I first got here. Instead of doing just a straightforward show, instead of finding topics that I really liked and broadcasting and hoping to glom onto a few listeners, I decided to go after the low-hanging fruit of dramatics, and all that did was fuck with me. There are people who don't talk to me now that used to talk to me then. They will never, I've tried to be cool with them, and they will never ever want anything to do with me because of that time period. Even though in the past few years I've matured, I've changed, I've grown. These people don't want anything to do with me. So they haven't matured or changed or grown. I also understand how people can be. I also understand that whole dynamic where first impressions are everything to most people. And I get that. So, anyway. So where was I? Oh yeah, my reputation's completely ruined. And I go back on to, I don't go back on Spreaker for a while because I had tried to defend myself and everything. It was just added stress. But he likes to talk, Joe likes to talk about my wife and everything else. And, like how Rick tried to ruin my marriage. Well, I'll tell you exactly how that came about. I knew that this would probably blow up and that people would try to get a hold of my wife, which they did. People tried to get a hold of my wife, and they tried to say, hey, this guy is sending dick pics out, blah, blah, blah. So what I did was I went to my wife with this knowledge, with this information. And I said, hey, honey, check out what happened. And she's like, okay, well, what happened? I said, see this picture right here? And she says, yeah, well, some guy's dick. I said, yeah, is it my dick? She says, no. Because she'd know. I mean, she's been my wife for over 8 years. She'd know what my dick looks like. Let's hope. She says it's not my dick. I said, well, this is the picture that people are trying to say that I sent to people. That I sent to females. And she said, really? I said, yeah. She says, oh, okay, well, I thought it was something serious, she said. I said, no. It's just my internet reputation could get ruined. And she's like, look, I don't care. I don't care about all this. All I care about is that you are happy in what you're doing. And are you happy in what you're doing? Like to say hello to Mr. Flava in the chat room. This is a little bit of a unique show here. This is not music, sir. This is me kind of going on the offensive defensive against somebody on this platform who is not being too kind to me, so I'm kind of speaking my piece here. And I want to try and speak my piece so I can get to these great music shows that I'm working on. One that I found actually has about 400 fans that are pretty rabid, and I'm trying to get that one going again. I'm trying to get another music show going again, but I'm not sure about where that's going to be or what I'm going to be doing with it or who's going to be co-hosting with me or whatever. So still working on that, but I enjoy that, and I enjoy the occasional talk show, and I'll do the occasional talk show, and I'll do the occasional Random Bites, 5-minute quick cast about something. But yeah, I want to try and get this out of the way because there are people out there who are misinformed, and I want to make sure that they know exactly what's going on. So my wife is cool with everything. She kind of thinks that Spreaker's dumb. She kind of thinks that these people are dumb for trying to railroad me. Of course, she's my wife. She'll defend me. And so basically with that hurdle cleared, I'm like, do I want to be a part of this? I mean, I've seen my personal information and my friend's personal information and my family's personal information up on a site called Pastebin, where hackers throw a bunch of things up and use that information. And I'm like, okay, and now this, and I'm like, God, my reputation is wrecked. So I kept trying to come back. I kept trying to come back on platforms like Bastard FC. I came back as something called Alter Ego, which was this evil, twisted kind of side of me, kind of almost like revenge for everything. I was treating it all like a wrestling angle, basically. I was thinking, what would happen in wrestling? Well, maybe this will happen. And I was thinking too much about it, and I was just driving myself insane. Now, there are a lot of you who'd be like, this guy drove himself insane over Spreaker. Well, there was a lot more going on. And you know how things kind of happen. If things are going on in real life or things are going on another side, there's collateral damage in other areas of your life. So I keep, going on. And I just try to fix my life. I try to fix my actual life, and quit and start, quit and stop, quit and stop, quit and stop. I keep doing all that stuff, and I'm thinking, okay, so am I ready to come back now? And it took me a little while to think about it. I was doing a podcast for Deep Elm Records. I was doing some cool things, and I decided to take off yet again, delete everything yet again. Basically, I like to torch bridges behind me. I don't know why I do that. I try not to do that anymore, which is why I'm trying to get all my old material up, because I'm trying to get, everything kind of up there and out there, because you never know who's listening. So up until just recently, I was not really feeling the whole podcasting thing until some things started unfortunately clearing up. My mother, who'd been sick for the past 7 years, passed away. It's kind of a shock, but I was glad she wasn't in any pain. And then 2 months after that, her mother passed away. 2 very important women to me. In a way that kind of motivated me. It kind of spurred me forward. You only got one chance in this life. Why not do something with it? Why not try something? Why not go for it, So I decided to go for it full force. Now, I don't foresee quitting, giving up, anything like that at any time in the future. So if anybody's hoping for that, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. But there is a guy in the chat room who's talking about how pathetic I am and how terrible I am and everything else. And you know what? I don't have the I don't have the want to fight right now with this guy, because it would take too much of my personal energy. Fighting with Seeker's one thing. Fighting with some of these other dudes is completely different. I know he's trying to elicit a response out of me. Hell, I probably already lost by mentioning it on air, right? But the point is that even though it may distract me, even though I may get a little ADHD about it and look off to the side and kind of have trouble with it, I'm not going to really acknowledge it after this. I don't think. Unless I do. And then if I do, so what? I'm a lot more laid back about these kind of things these days. So, Joe Seeker talks about defending me as though I owe him something. I don't know Joe Seeker's shit. I mean, we did do a show together, and I did admit that he was, kind of screwed out of the deal. But then a few weeks later, talked to Rick, and I ended up being a part of Music Mafia Radio. Now, here's how that came about. Rick, the guy who, quote-unquote, tried to ruin my marriage, who tried to get me blackballed, blacklisted, and kind of succeeded, Kind of succeeded. He came to me and he apologized. He said he found out what kind of person Leanne was, and he wanted to say he was sorry. He manned up. He owned up. He showed his colors that day. Now, here's where Joe and I differ. You think Joe would forgive somebody for doing something like that? You think Joe would be like, hey, it's cool, man, let's just move forward from here? And if he did do it, don't you think you'd be hearing about it an awful lot? Well, I forgave Rick. I said, look, it's cool, man. I understand you were in the heat of the moment. It's fine. He's like, yeah, but I could have ruined your marriage. I could have, all that trouble you went through, all these people who hate you. I'm like, dude, that doesn't matter. These people are going to hate me no matter what, some of them. So I'm not even concerned with it. Some of these people like to get a rise out of me. Some of these people like to just really fuck with me. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you said I sent a dick pic or what. It's just the lay of the land, man. I get it. I've crossed too many people, burned too many bridges. I get it. What's cool is you came to me as a man, you apologized, you admitted wrongdoing, and I'm cool with you. And I joined Music Mafia Radio after that because for me that was a lot easier than carrying on this big old network with Joe Seeker. For me, it was just, I'm a DJ. I'm just a DJ. I'm a part of this team. Rick did a lot of the heavy lifting. He paid for the subscription. He and his staff found the artists. I merely just went on and played. And that was a way for me to stay sharp and to stay in the game, yet not be extremely involved in it, And I met a lot of positive people through Music Mafia Radio. A lot of people who left Black Sheep Network because they found out what a cancer Leanne is. So that was a really positive experience. And Rick was nothing but cool. He did everything that he said he would. He was a man of his word. And we were in constant contact. In December, when my mom was going through chemotherapy for her cancer, I had to leave Music Mafia Radio. I said, I got to turn over and focus on something else. He said, that's cool. You're welcome back whenever you want. And if there's ever an opportunity, I may go back to it and still continue this. I don't know. I kind of leave things up to the fates nowadays. If I feel like doing a show, I do a show. If I want to do a show, I do a show. If I don't, I don't. Kind of makes scheduling things a bitch, but I'm a lot more laid back about these things. And a lot more laid back about what folks are saying. And if, people can say what they want to say. The point is, a lot of people will tune in, listen, and then they'll hate on you. At least they're tuning in and listening, man. That's a notch on my belt. That's cool. So, Rick came to me and apologized like a man. I took him back like a man. I didn't hold a grudge. I don't hold a grudge against Rick. I understand what it's like to be driven by mob mentality. He'll be the first to admit that he was wrong. And he'll go on the air and say, man, I can't even begin to fathom what Alan had to go through during that whole time. You know what? He admitted it. Yet do you hear me bragging about it everywhere? Like as though I'm some kind of saint. No, you know why? Because, hey, guess what? I may actually be a decent human being. How about that? Not a creep. Not some sicko. Not some shady motherfucker who sends dick pics. I may actually be, Outside of these walls, a father of two, a devoted husband, who works hard to support his family. Just your typical middle class schlo, as Henry Hill would put it, or your typical middle class schlub, as Henry Hill would put it. I'm one of those people. Yet when I get behind the microphone, I get my creative juices flowing. I get a little more loose. And it's good for me. No matter what happens, it's good for me. It's good for me to do this and to, no matter what people think, whether people think I have talent or don't, I take pride in what I do. But at this point, I'm starting to realize it's not about talent. If it were about talent, there'd be a lot of people who have a lot more listens than some other people, or a lot of people who would be on the air, actually, making money at a terrestrial radio station. If it was all about talent, it's not all about talent. It's about luck, breaks, the right place at the right time. So many different things out of one's control that it's not even worth it to worry about it. I do this for enjoyment. And what happens? Joe Seeker starts running his mouth. So, in conclusion, or, I don't know, in the end, it doesn't really matter. Right, Chester? No. In conclusion, it's just, I've met a lot of people here on Spreaker. Most of them don't like me. Most of them wouldn't listen to me if it was the last thing that they had to listen to. If I was the last broadcast on Earth, they wouldn't listen to me. But I realized that the people on Spreaker that I associate with, or have associated with, maybe number 30 to 40 people. Last time I checked, there's a few more than that who listen to podcasts. And there's certainly quite a few more than that on Spreaker. So my goal is to get these other people listening. The people who are less dramatic and who just enjoy a decent program. I'm not looking to cause any problems. I'm not looking to cause any issues. I just want a podcast, man. I just want to broadcast. That's all I want to do. And I got somebody trying to be Billy Badass over here, trying to show me that he's got a pair of balls. Okay, Joe Seeker, you got a pair of balls. Is that what you want to hear? Okay, you're the man. Is that what you want to hear? Fuck, dude. The fact of the matter is I've gotten tired of swatting away Joe Seeker's worthless attempts at trying to get me to quit. Now, I understand this guy could probably be doing something where he's strengthening me or where he actually thinks I'm cool and he's just doing something to see how long I'm going to last. Well, if that's the case, I'll find out sooner or later, but right now it looks like he's trying to be an asshole. So, I got to respond in kind. So that was basically it. That's basically my history on Spreaker. I know I rub a lot of people the wrong way. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I know I'm boring a lot of times. I'm working on that. I'm working on being a little more interesting. And not to get this core group of 40 people, but for the millions that are out there. Hopefully I can produce a better program for them. But I'm hoping this is the last anyone will hear of this. I'm hoping that Joe can just rest on his laurels that he was quote-unquote right about me and leave me alone. Because this guy's something else, man. This guy is something else. A lot of people are something else on here. But I hope you got the timeline of the story. If you have any questions, feel free to message me through various means. I'll be upfront and honest like I always have been. And as for the whole Heather thing, I'll just say it right now. When somebody mentions somebody so much in their show, you get curious about them. And That's why I added Mr. Midnight Movie, Jewish producer, all these people. And that's why I added Heather. I was curious. My curiosity was quenched very quickly. And then I left that Facebook account to go try another Facebook account because I was trying to do this Alan Wayne thing where I was trying to separate my personal life and this and that. I was overthinking things and trying to do all these different things that were really, really dumb in hindsight, and I'll admit that. See, I also admit when I'm wrong. Something Joe Seeker doesn't do. He keeps fighting. Keeps going down with the ship. So, yes, I was curious. No, there was no perving going on. I didn't go through all these pictures or whatever it is. It was just curiosity at the moment. And it was like, oh, it's her daughter. Okay, cool. Kid, everything. All these people she talks about. All these people Debbie talks about are right there. Okay, they exist. Cool. You know, curiosity quenched. No further need. I get this. I find out this Facebook account that I'm on now by accident is still active. So I'm like, hey, I got a pretty good group of people here. You know, delete all the other ones because they're full of garbage, people I don't deal with, and go from here. And she happened to be on there. And I did, in my time of Debbie hatred, which I realized was just me falling for mob mentality yet again. I can't do that anymore. I gotta be a loner. I've done my best work alone. I've started several podcasts by myself. Some would say it's because I'm difficult to work with. Some would say it's because I leave too quick. I quit all the time. Whatever the reason. I do my best work alone. And so what was my point? So Joe says that he called me out on this whole Heather thing. And yeah, I was wrapped up in mob mentality. I copied a picture of Heather's, pasted it onto Discord. It was a picture that came up on my Facebook feed. I said, wow, that looks interesting. I copied it. I pasted it. Said, this looks funny. That's all I did. And then just at that same moment, Joe was like, oh, how'd you get that? And it did cause me to start to think about it. I was kind of like, you know what? There's no need to fuck with her daughter. I'll just delete it. Wasn't because Joe called me out on it. I didn't feel any shame for it. It was as easy as pushing a button. And that was it. So, my final message of this evening to the folks listening, if you've listened this far, I know a lot of you think I'm boring, think I'm completely unlistenable. Well, I won't expect the numbers to go through the roof. Expect plenty more boring radio to you guys, because it doesn't seem like anyone listens other than when I'm talking trash about somebody. So I'll tell you this. You know what? What do I have to say to these folks? If I had one thing to say to this whole conglomerate of Spreaker folk that I know, there's very few of you that are actually like that I consider friends. And really, it doesn't matter, because I enjoy doing this. I'm going to keep doing it. And, yeah. So, Joe, you know what? You do you, brother. You do you. Gotten tired of your ass. So, you do you. Do what you do up there. And I'll do what I do. How about that?